Hello student, welcome again to learn BST in this class. In our previous lectures, we have discussed about the importance of services, what role a service plays. We have also studied in Aids to Trade that the efficiency of operation and success of a business depends to a greater extent on the services provided by a business firm, a business enterprises. The totality of the satisfaction that a consumer derives also depends upon the variety of services which, which is provided by the seller along with the goods in order to enhance the utility and satisfaction that a customer derives. We therefore said that services played a major role, and we discussed about what banking is, what is the role of banking, how they are useful in removing the hindrances of finances and assisting the business in carrying out their smooth activities and operations. Today we shall discuss about another services of business, or that is insurance. We know that our human life as well as business, the life of the business, it is exposed to numerous uncertainties. The environment in which a business operates, it is very difficult to predict the changes that takes place in the environment, and more so what could be the repercussion of the changes in the business is also not predicted in a precise manner. There are chances that a business may suffer some losses on account of the uncertainties that rest or lies in future. Business cannot avoid those uncertainties because these are not under human control, or a business cannot control this. It is therefore suggested that an arrangement should be made so that the possible effect or the possible losses that may arise out of those uncertainties of the future event can be minimized or they can be encountered. A business therefore resort to the arrangement of insurance, whereby an agreement is entered between two parties. The party who takes an insurance, who gets either his person or his property insured, he is the insured or the insured, and the person who gives him an assurance that he would be compensating the loss in case the future event poses some threats or some harm which results in some losses. So insurance is an attempt to minimize the losses of the event that may arise in future. If we have to decide, if we have to discuss what an insurance is, so a brief outline has been mentioned here that business is exposed to various kinds of risk and uncertainties, and I have said these risks cannot be predicted with precision. The environment of the business has a dynamic forces. They keeps on playing constantly. They affect the business constantly. They are not momentary. They keep on changing, and therefore their precise effect on the business activities cannot be predicted. So it would be better for the business enterprise to prepare beforehand or make such arrangement which helps him in encountering those risks and minimizing the losses. Therefore, in order to minimize the impact of such uncertainties, business gets itself insured. And then we define what is an insurance. So here, insurance is a contract. It is written contract. The full word would be, it is a contract of indemnity. Indemnity means the monetary losses which a business suffers owing to such as losses, owing to such business uncertainties or business event, that losses would be covered up, it would be indemnified, it would be compensated by the party who is undertaking to make the payment for consideration of a premium. So it is an agreement between two or more persons, and therefore insurance contract or insurance policy is a contract of indemnity, whereby the insurer, the first party or the person who gives the assurance that he would put the business enterprise in the same position as it was before the occurrence of the losses. The position in which a business was, he would be reinstated in the same position as it was before the occurrence of the actual losses. So that's a assurance, that's an guarantee which is being given by the insurer under a policy of insurance. So these guarantee of indemnifying the losses given by the insurer, it is under a policy of insurance, or which is known as an insurance contract. And this insurance contract takes place, or it is agreed between the two parties in consideration of certain money which is known as premium. So in an insurance contract, what we see that the insured, it agrees to pay a premium, and the insurer agrees to reinstate and indemnify the business for the losses and put it in the same position as it was before the occurrence of the losses. That's a contract of indemnity. So we can say insurance is a contract of indemnity. It is a contract whereby one person gives an assurance, a guarantee, undertakes to make a compensation for the losses that a business suffers owing to uncertain future events. This is all about the insurance and how do we define insurance. Now, if we look into the purpose why insurance is taken, we find the following functions of insurance. The first function of insurance is providing certainty of payment. The contract that is being entered into by the insurer and the business enterprises, the insurer cannot avoid the uncertainty, the risk, the probable chances of the losses cannot be avoided. But yes, it gives a guarantee that in case of a losses which takes place in future, the business would be compensated for the losses by these insurer. The insurer undertakes that in case of losses taking place due to some future uncertainties or event affecting the business operation, the insurer will indemnify. Insurer will put the business enterprises or the businessmen in the same position as it was before the occurrence of the losses. So first benefit or function of insurance is about certainty of payment. It makes it certain that it will make the payment for the risk of the losses. And they have already entered into an agreement. There is a contract, written indenture between the two parties, the insured and the insurer. And why insurer undertakes it? Because insurer takes or it charges a premium for covering the losses. Then the next is protection. The major aspect of insurance is that insurance tends to protect the business or protect the business enterprises against the probable losses, because losses arises due to future uncertainties, and insurance is an attempt to safeguard against those future against the impact of those future incident. So therefore insurance is an attempt to provide a protection against the probable loss. The insurance company cannot stop, we said that. It cannot prevent the risk, the loss. Nobody knows what lies in the future or what would be the possible impact of the incident. And therefore, business is safeguarded, business is protected by the insurance policy. So insurance provide protection to the business. The business will not be affected. It is a protection that the business operation would be continued even if it suffer losses. And here there is third one is sharing of risk. This sharing of risk points out to the diffusion of risk. Risks are shared. It is being passed from one party to another party. The risk that is involved in one business, those risks are transferred to some another person. So we find that there is a sharing of risk, there is diffusion of the risk, and in it there is an arrangement between two persons to share the losses which may arise due to exposure of the business to some future uncertain event. The amount of premium which a business enterprise pays to the insurance company for covering of the risk, those premium are pulled up by the insurance company, which gets many such premium on account of various insurance policies or insurance contract, and that money is used in making compensation for the risk or for the losses. So what happens as there is a sharing of risk, number of business, they insure themselves against the risk and they pay a premium. So the premium which is received by the insurance company, they are pulled together and the money is used to pay towards the losses that has been suffered by a business. So there is diffusion of the risk. It does not lies on one person. It gets diffused. There is number of sharer or the various business contribution in the form of premium is the result of diffusion of the risk. Whosoever suffers the risk, whatever may be the form of the business, it is being undertaken, or rather it is being shared by all the premium that has been provided by the various business enterprises. So there is diffusion of risk and there is risk sharing. Next we have assist in capital formation. Yes, it is a very great contribution of insurance that they assist in capital formation. The funds that are collected by the insurance company in the form of premium, those funds, those money, those premium are invested in various income generating schemes. besides payment of the compensation losses to the extent it has undertaken, the surplus money that rests with the insurance company is invested in various income generating activities or in schemes, and this leads to capital formation in the economy. Economy has an abundance of capital. It receives capital on account of surplus from insurance policies. So therefore it assists in capital formation. Then the next one is division of labor. Now division of labor points out to specialization. It means that a person who is expert in a work should handle that work only. Now what I wanted to refer you is that we know that insurance company, they gives a guarantee to the business enterprises that on occasion of or in the event of business encountering certain losses, insurance company will make the, or rather insurance company will indemnify the losses that is being incurred by any company due to some future events. This helps a business to concentrate on major activities. The businessman need not to worry about how to handle the risk. The risk handling is a part of some another person, some another company, that is insurance company. And so therefore there is a division of labor. The work of or the function of handling with the losses, handling with the insurance, it vests with the insurance company. So the business can concentrate on its principal activities. It need not to worry about how to handle the risk, how to handle the losses. So we can say that there is a division of labor. And in such a condition, a businessman would be able to concentrate on the business activities because risk is taken by the insurance company who would look after management of the risk. So a businessman need not to worry about the effect and the consequences of the risk. And then next is about better utilization of capital. Insurance assists in better utilization of capital. How? If there would have been no insurance, or there would have been no agreement of insurance between the insurer, then the business would have to maintain a variety of reserve. It had to make a provision to meet out the losses on account of future uncertainties. It would have resulted in blocking of the capital in inefficient purposes. It would have been lying idle. Unless the risk takes place or unless the losses occurs, the capital would have been blocked. But being the risk taken by an insurance company, a business enterprise or a businessman need not to maintain a variety of reserve and provisions. So we find that the capital are now put to more productive uses. They do not lie idly in the form of reserve, but rather they are put to productive uses, generating greater revenues, and therefore there is better utilization of the capital. Insurance warranties that the capital are put to proper use, efficient use. there cannot be any circumstances where, in case of insurance being taken, where capital would be lying idle. They are put to a greater productive use, and hence we say that there is better utilization of the capital. When we take an insurance policy, or when a business takes an insurance policy, there are certain principles which goes deep into the roots of insurance and which affects the insurance contract. It is therefore mandatory to discuss those principles of insurance which affect an insurance policy. The first principle of insurance policy is utmost good faith. It is a principle, it is a contract of indemnity. Means one person undertakes to make compensation for the losses that may arise in future, and therefore it is required that all the information relating to the property or the subject matter of insurance must be clearly stated, and it must be fully disclosed before or to the insurance party. This is the contract of utmost good faith. They must trust each other. Insurance company undertaking to make compensation must know what are the factors, what are the risks which are probable, and therefore it is obligatory on the part of the business enterprises or the insured that it must disclose fully all the information relating to or which affect the insurance company undertaking to compensate in the case of losses. All such information has to be fully disclosed. A material fact, all material information relating to the contract of insurance. Now, material fact refers to those facts which affect the subject matter of the insurance, and the subject matter of the insurance to a great extent affect how far the insurance company would be able to compensate the losses. So therefore, any such information which may cause the insurance company to deny the acceptance of the proposal must be made known to the insurance company before entering into insurance agreement. Take an example. Insurance policy can be of life, of marine, of fire, of insurance, other type, but it is a contract of utmost good faith, and it is often referred to as ubi rime fide. That's the Latin word. Fidelity, or when one finds confidence in another, there is a trust, there is a faith. So this contract of insurance depends upon the trust and faith of both the parties towards each other. There should not be any sort of cheating, any sort of treachery, any sort of misunderstanding, or all the information therefore must be disclosed. The material fact must be made known to the insurer, and similarly the insurer must make all the terms and condition of the insurance clear to the insured. Let us take an example. Mohit took an insurance policy covering himself against majority of the diseases, but he did not disclose that he had a heart ailment. Later on, he died out of heart ailment, and it was later discovered by the insurance company that when the insurance policy was taken, he was already suffering from heart ailment, which he did not disclose. It means that a material fact was not disclosed. It was hidden by the insured. Now, in such a case, the insurance company can avoid the contract. The contracts become voidable at the instance of the insurer party, the insurance company. And therefore, it is obligatory on the part of both the parties that being a contract of trust and good faith, they must disclose all the material information relating to the property or the person of the subject of insurance. Then the second is insurable interest. This insurable interest points out that in case of losses to a property, the person who takes the insurance, who gets the insurance, he stands to suffer a loss. He undergoes a suffering of the losses if anything happens to the subject of insurance. There is some pecuniary interest, there is some monetary interest which a person loses if anything happens to the product or anything happens to the subject of insurance. Now let me give you an example. I insured my houses against fire, and if fire broke out, I would definitely lose my house. I would lose the value which I have invested in the house. There is a pecuniary loss, and therefore I have an insurable interest. So whosoever takes a policy must have an insurable interest at the time of taking policy. That is about the principle of insurable interest. This is insurable interest. It says that anyone who takes a policy on the subject matter of the insurance, he must be in a position that if any injury or loss happens to the property or the subject matter, he would stand in a losing position. He would stand in a position of suffering financially. So that is about insurable interest. So we say that such person has an insurable interest. He has an interest in the property which can be insured, which can be safeguarded against. And this is the principle of insurable interest. Then the third principle is contract of indemnity or principle of indemnity. There is two words, insurance and assurance. Indemnity refers to compensation in terms of money for the losses against the insured peril. Peril refers to the risk. So there are two types of risk. One which can be insured. It means we can evaluate, we can calculate the monetary value of the losses that may take place. Whereas there are perils, the monetary value of which cannot be ascertained, and therefore they cannot be insured. So indemnity, contract of indemnity point out that insurance is a contract of indemnity. It means it is a security against the losses. We have discussed that the purpose of insurance is to place the business and the businessman in the same position as it was before the occurrence of loss, or as they were before the event of loss took place. Now it means, it points out that the insured, he is entitled to recover the losses from the insurance company. And we therefore refer that insurance, the principle of insurance refers that it is a contract of indemnity, whereby the insurer undertake to make compensation for the losses that takes place, and he is ready to cover up the loss to the extent which has been covered in the insurance. An insurance company will make compensation only to the extent that has been agreed into the policy. If the policy is of 5 lakh and loss occurred for 10 lakh, insurance company will pay only 5 lakh, insurance company will not pay rupees 10 lakh. So what has been insured against, that is recoverable from the insurance company. This is highlight of the principle of indemnity. Means we can claim, means if we insure our house for only 5 lakh but we suffer a loss of 10 lakh, we cannot claim 10 lakh. Business will only get compensation for rupees 5 lakh. The value which it has insured, a limit has been placed on the policy, on the agreement between the insurance company and the insured. An insurance company will only take the liability to the ceiling of insurance, not beyond that. So it is a contract of indemnity. Then there is proximate cause. Proximity means the nearness. Losses takes place out of various causes. There are numerous activities. There are causes, sub-causes, sub-effects. Insurance undertake to make compensation only against the possible near causes, not from losses arising out of remote consequences. Damages occurring on account of remoteness consequence or remote consequences cannot be included or covered under insurance. If we have insured our property against fire, and if damage is caused due to excessive rain, it cannot be covered under insurance. So proximate cause refers to that insurance undertakes to make compensation only against the most probable and proximate causes of risk which are stated in the policy. The perils which have been stated, against which the insurance company has given guarantee. So risk can be covered or losses can be covered only when such losses takes place on account of such perils or dangers, not against remote consequences. If damages takes place on account of some remote activity, that cannot be covered under insurance. Let us say that we are an exporter. We export our good cargo in ship. Big cargo ships carries our goods. We have insured our good from any danger that may arise or that may takes place in the sea. Like there are, we can say there are avalanches that takes place. There are icebergs, and there is possibility of collision. So we have guarded against marine insurance, the loss which may arise due to some marine activities. Our goods were supplied, they are being carried on, but on the way we find that there were some rats on the cargo and they just damaged our goods. So can we claim compensation? No. This is the remote consequences of the damage. Damage has occurred on account of remote causes which we cannot relate with the goods, which we cannot relate with the insurance, subject matter of the insurance. So damage can only be claimed when the causes of damage could be easily related or can be nearly related to the causes which have been insured, not by any remote consequences. So therefore, there has to be proximate cause. Then there is doctrine of subrogation. Now, doctrine of subrogation says that insurance company undertakes to make compensation of the losses. But once the insurance company makes a compensation, the insurance company, it gets all the right against the third party in respect to the property, in respect to the subject of insurance, after it has paid the compensation for the losses suffered. What I mean is that once the insurance company has paid me the compensation, suppose I have insured my car against theft. My car was robbed, somebody took it. Insurance company, after taking all the due effort, they made me a compensation. Later on, the car was discovered. I cannot reach the insurance company and say, now give me my car back. No. So the insurance company now, he steps into my shoes, and now all the right with respect to the car vest in the insurance company after insurance company has provided me all the damages. This is doctrine of subrogation. It means doctrine of replacement. He has replaced me. Doctrine of subrogation says that once compensation is made, the insurance company enters into the shoe of the insured party and he gets all the rights with respect to the subject of insurance against any third party. So that is doctrine of subrogation. Then doctrine of contribution says that in the event of losses, if more than one policy is taken, then all the insurance party, they would contribute proportionately to make up the losses. For example, I took an insurance policy for rupees 5 lakh from ICICI. I also took the insurance from SBI Life for rupees 5 lakh, same amount. Then I also took an insurance for rupees 5 lakh from Religare. Now in the event of losses, all this company, insurance, they would contribute rupees 5 lakh proportionately. It is not that I would ask each of them to pay me 15 lakh. No. This is violation of the doctrine of contribution, or rather it points out to one thing, that doctrine of or contract of insurance is not a contract of undue enrichment. I cannot take contract to make myself rich by playing any frauds. So it is not a contract of undue enrichment. It is a contract of safeguarding against the probable losses. And therefore, each of the insurance party, they have a right to contribute proportionately to make up the losses that has actually resulted. So that is doctrine of contribution. Then there is doctrine of mitigation or principle of mitigation. Now, principle of mitigation says that it should be the due effort and honest approach of or effort of the insured to take all probable safeguard in protecting the property or the subject of the insurance insured. Once I have taken an insurance against this house, against theft and fire, I must take all the necessary precaution that fire and theft should not take place due to my demerits, or it is not due to my fault. I must take all the measures to stop or to prevent either theft or losses due to fire. I must try to mitigate the loss. It would show that yes, I have a pecuniary interest in the property and I do really suffer if losses occur to this property. It is not that, okay, I have insured the property, then what I do, I set ablaze the building. It cannot be done. It means I have not abided by the principle of mitigation of losses. There is no effort on my part to reduce the quantum of losses. And therefore, the insurance company, if it finds that no effort has been made on my part to mitigate the losses, the company may repudiate the contract of insurance. They may simply deny. It becomes voidable on the part. They may agree, they may not agree to pay you the compensation. So mitigation points out that efforts should be made by the insured to reduce and minimize the losses. So this is all about insurance, the function of insurance and principle of insurance. We shall discuss again in our next class. Till then, keep learning.